There were messages on the phone screen. Jae-run asked Zio-lan if she saw the game update announcement this morning. Longface exclaimed that she was not banned and told her to check the game update announcement. Zio-lan looked at the screen in amazement. Tears appeared in her eyes. Sitting on the floor, she shouted that she thought she couldn't play with them anymore. Ling-si thought with a smile that she couldn't bear to leave Heavenland. Zio-lan exclaimed in tears that this is great, she can continue to make money through the game, and she will no longer have to work so hard every day at this boring and petty job. She exclaimed that her beauty and youth had been wasted. Her boss got angry. The main character said that he forgot to ask her something last time. Zio-lan opened her eyes. Ling-si asked where she got that black market item. He said that such things cannot be obtained through normal means. He asked if they had made a deal with some underground organization. Zio-lan said no, and a strange man suggested it to her. The main character looked at the phone in amazement. Zio-lan said that this item was sold to her by a strange man in a cloak in real life, and back then they were angry and lost after the attack on anti-mainstream, and at this difficult moment he came to her. She said he looked like he was well aware of what happened and got them to trust him just by striking up a conversation. She said he gave her the chip and told her that she could get the item she wanted if she entered the game using it. Zio-lan said that after that, they discussed it a little among themselves, but decided to trust him, and they converted the rewards he gave them into real money and gave everything to him. Looking down, she said that she couldn't even see what he looked like, and all she remembered was that there was a glowing mark under his cloak. She said that luckily he didn't trick them and they actually got the item they wanted after logging into the game. Ling-si asked her to tell him where they met him so he could investigate. Walking down the street, he thought that Zio-lan had told him that it was somewhere in this area. He turned to the man next to the trash can. The man asked what happened. The main character asked if he saw a man in a black cloak here about 4 or 5 days ago. Rubbing his chin, the man said that he was talking about that strange rich guy. Pointing to the corner of the street, he said that at that intersection, a man in a black raincoat gave a large bag of money to a beggar, and this happened about 4 or 5 days ago. He said that the people around were very jealous because of this, because after all, it was a slum. Sighing, he asked if rich people like to play around with money these days, and why couldn't that happen to him since he works hard every day cleaning this place. He sighed again. Ling-si thought that it was not that simple, and the person who sold the chip to Zio-lan did not do it for money. He texted and asked Zio-lan if the guy in the raincoat told them anything special. Zio-lan asked what he found. She said he didn't say anything special and he looked like he knew what they had been through and he knew what they wanted as soon as he approached them. She wrote that he convinced them that the attack on anti-mainstream was organized by Kyujin Shin. Ling-si thought that someone was in control behind this series of incidents. He thought that too many strange things were happening around him lately. He remembered the town with the NPCs, the challenge with Guide, the battle with Kyujin Shin, and the conversation with Dark Lines. Frowning his brows, the main character thought that perhaps he knew something. He stood on the edge of the pier. Someone called out to him from behind. Turning around, Ling-si thought that he knew it. Tika, apologizing, ran up and said that she was late. She remembered how Dark Lines told her that he needed to go far away on his business, and if something arose, she would deal with it for him. She said the repairman had left and she couldn't contact him, so she came herself to see if there was anything she could do to help. The main character replied that everything was fine and he expected that he would not be able to meet him. Frowning, he swore at Dark Lines. Tika asked if this was important. Ling-si said no, and he just wanted to ask him something. He said that he would talk to him later when he returned. Smiling, Tika said that she saw the broadcast of his duel. Exclaiming that he was incredible, she asked what his new form was. She said she didn't think this was the form proof of the glorious should be and it opened her eyes. The main character remained thoughtfully silent. He thought that if it weren't for Kyujin Shin, who couldn't defeat him using cheats, he wouldn't have realized how strong he had become, which is a little confusing. Lifting her head up, Tika said that if he uses this form, it's hard to tell who is stronger, him or the master. Smiling nervously, Ling-si thought that this was true, and perhaps he had already surpassed Dark Lines. Tika said that, being the other candidate for the badge of the glorious, she knows that one day they will have to have a formal duel. Smiling resolutely, she said that although she felt like she was no longer an opponent for him with her current strength, he still wanted to fight him in a fair duel in the game. She told him not to forget that this is what they agreed on. The main character smiled and told her to work even harder because he wouldn't hold back. Lowering her head, Tika said that this goes without saying. Modestly fingering her fingers, she said that if she lost, she also agreed to give it to him. Ling-si, blushing with embarrassment, widened his eyes and exclaimed, Tika said she meant Badge of the Glorious. After a while she waved her hand, saying goodbye. She said that she would immediately notify him when the master returned. Ling Si thanked her. Tika wanted to remind you about the promise. After swallowing the words, she blushed and clenched her teeth. Turning around, the main character asked if she remembered that they had promised to watch the film together. He asked if the day after tomorrow suited her. Tika, covering herself with her hands in embarrassment and confusion, said yes. Two people stood in front of a large steel door. Someone asked the general if they really needed Ling Si. The general told him to ask him to come because he would help them investigate this phenomenon. Frowning, he said that he was the only one known to be 100% awakened. Crossing the road, Tika was thinking about what she should wear the day after tomorrow. Hearing cries for help, she turned in the direction of the sound. Someone shouted about a thief and called out to her. Having gone underground, the man asked her to look after her child while they caught this thief. Tika said to be careful. Looking at the stroller, she wondered if she wasn't afraid to trust her child to a stranger so easily. She carefully looked inside the stroller. Ling Si asked why there was such a rush since they told him to come so quickly. The general said that the situation is urgent, and everything that he will hear and see now is strictly classified information that cannot be disclosed. He ordered the door to be opened. The main character was greeted by a bright light and a strong flow of wind. In front of them was a huge hole in which it was dark. In the stroller in front of Tika was a black silhouette of a child with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Ling Si and the general walked outside and the steel door slammed shut. The main character, mentioning a huge rift, asked what was happening. The general said that even they were seeing such a situation for the first time. He said that if it weren't for the miners who regularly returned to this abandoned mine to retrieve mining equipment, they may never have known about the existence of this fault. Ling Si asked if he meant that this rift did not appear recently. The general said yes, and an army research team is already investigating the cause of this phenomenon. He said preliminary analysis suggests the fault structure is gradually increasing over time and it could not have happened in a day or two. He said with a grimly serious face that although there has been no progress regarding the cause yet, judging by the material it is made of, it is related to Heavenland. The general said that the signal coming from the rift is the same as Heavenland. The main character asked if this rift is connected to the world of Heavenland. The general said yes, and so says the preliminary analysis, and that is why he asked him to come here, because he awakened with the highest level of synchronization with the game. He said that since they found the same fluctuations from the game here, they are worried that something from the game world came into the real world through this rift. Ling Si opened his eyes wide in surprise. A column of black energy shot into the sky from the blue carriage. Tika was in the air next to the column of energy. Gritting her teeth, she wondered what it was. Yellow energy enveloped her fist, and she wondered if she was in the real world right now. She broke the column of energy. She wondered if she was dreaming. The dark energy was approaching her and Tika frowned. Streams of black energy converged, throwing her aside. The force of the impact threw her into the wall, leaving a strong dent in the wall. Blood gushed from Tika's mouth. The black energy returned to the stroller. Looking down, Tika thought that this was definitely a game monster, and a very strong one at that. She thought that she couldn't use her full power in reality. Black energy rose from the underground passage. It began to climb up the wall of the building in her direction. Taking the phone in her hand, Tika thought that she should inform the master about this, and this is too strange. She noticed the movement of black energy nearby. A black silhouette of a woman in a yellow raincoat, similar to a child in a stroller, thanked her for taking care of her child. The main character asked in shock that the update this time was not initiated by management. The general said that he should know that the army was taking an important role in the development of Heavenland, and if anything happened in the game, they would be the first to know, but this time they knew nothing. Adolf said that he had already contacted the management team and they had no intention of releasing an update. Ling Si asked when was behind this update then. The general said that what he was about to say was top secret information that should not be disclosed. Frowning his brows, he said that judging by what was happening, this rift connected to the game world and the offline game update were directly related to each other. He said that they think so because Heavenland itself is co-managed by the management in reality, and the game AI. The main character thoughtfully repeated his words. The general said that a game of this scale and level created Awakened, and that in itself is an evolution beyond humankind. Frowning, he said that it was impossible for the army and management team who created the game and were entirely composed of people to fully understand this supernatural phenomenon of evolution. He said that for this reason they created an AI designed to explore Heavenland to help them manage the game. He said, AI learns and explores by taking on roles such as game levels, monsters, NPCs, and so on, thereby discovering the rules within the game. The general said that they wanted to be part of the game with the help of AI and hoped to one day understand the truth behind these supernatural abilities, and then, with the help of players who would challenge the game and become awakened, change the structure of the real world, leading to their current lives. He said that over the years, this management in charge with AI supplementary relationship has supported the game's operation. But the update this time is created entirely by the game's self-awareness. The main character, frowning, thought about the update from the game's self-awareness. Remembering the guide, he thought maybe this was what that strange NPC was. Adolf said that all along the game developers should have had the ability to control the autonomous actions of artificial intelligence, and at the moment they say that perhaps outside data has destroyed their AI control mechanism. He said that for this reason they began to investigate bugs and illegal game data, and they also wanted to hide the fact that they could not control this update by announcing bug fixes and a list of banned accounts. The general concluded that this was therefore top secret information and any leaks would affect the entire real world. The main character said that management was investigating illegal game data and banned accounts. The general asked what was wrong. Ling Si thought about Xiao Lan, the chip she received, and the man in the black cloak. The general asked if he had discovered anything. Frowning, Ling Si said that he could confirm that something from the game they were talking about even came into the world through the rift. Dark Lions was shouting Tika's name from the phone, asking where she was and what she meant by saying that the monsters from the game had come. Tika lay in a pool of her blood on the asphalt next to her phone. With difficulty keeping her eyes open, she thought that the clothes the master gave her were not bad. Looking at the sky, she thought that she really wanted to watch a movie with Ling Si. Dark Lions frowned and said that something was wrong and he had a bad feeling about it. He called the main character. The general, rubbing his chin, said that it seemed the situation was much more serious than he had imagined. He told the main character that everything they discussed today must be kept in strict secrecy. The main character's phone rang. Ling Si, looking at the screen, asked displeasedly who could be calling him at such a moment. The phone said, "Stinky Uncle." He realized that it was Dark Lions. Dark Lions asked him loudly if he met at Tika today. Ling Si said yes. Dark Lions asked where she was. The main character said that they had recently separated and she should be home by now. Dark Lions said she just called him, said something strange, and now he can't contact her. Ling Si asked about the strange words. Dark Lions said that she said that the monsters from the game came. The main character looked into the void in amazement. He shouted to him to tell him the address of his house, and he would immediately find her. Dark Lions looked at his phone silently. Frowning, he looked into the distance, hoping that Tika was okay. Raising his hand up, standing among the pyramids, he said, "Come out." He summoned a mountain and sea spirit Zheng. After boarding him, Dark Lions ordered him to return at the fastest possible speed. The main character descended from the Pegasus. People on the street exclaimed that this was the Pegasus from Heavenland. Ling Si asked why there were so many people here. Someone asked if this was a murder scene. The girl said he heard that the victim was a girl. The main character thought in amazement about the scene of the murder. Running up to the police tape, he asked what happened here. The policeman told him to calm down and asked who he was. Ling Si said that he is looking for his female friend, and she lives somewhere here. He asked me to tell him what was happening here. The policeman said the victim was also a girl. He told him to see if it was her. He handed him a photograph taken at the crime scene. The main character held a photograph with a trembling hand in which Tika was bleeding. Grabbing the officer's wrist, he asked what the victim's condition was and where she was now. The policeman told him to calm down. He said she was sent to a nearby hospital, but he heard that her vital signs were weak. Ling Si opened his mouth, raising his head in the hospital corridor. He thought it was this hospital again. He pressed the button under the sign, ICU Room 3. The door opened in front of him. He saw Tika, who was lying in a hospital bed. Looking at her, he remembered his conversation with the doctor. He asked him what the condition of the patient in ICU Room 3 was. The doctor said that they could not do anything because too much time had passed between the time of the injury and her arrival at the hospital. He said they had already missed their best opportunity for rescue. He said excessive blood loss caused a lack of oxygen and blood in the body, leading to hemorrhagic shock, and they have already done everything they could. But the situation is not optimistic. Looking at Tika's face, the main character remembered how the doctor said that he was afraid that she would soon lose all vital signs. Ling Si punched the wall angrily. He said they even promised to watch a movie together. Purple energy appeared in his hand. Frowning, he thought that perhaps there was only one way left. The day before the second phase of the Guild War, Penumbra Guild headquarters, the main character told Vankafis that she rarely comes to their guild. He asked if they weren't the ones who usually went to her Potion King Enterprise building. Vankafis said she just happened to be nearby while collecting herbs. Ling Si asked about her even personally collecting herbs. He said it was not surprising that she became rich. Vankafis suggested postponing this conversation until later because this time she came to give him a new potion. He said with a smile that she heard from Ryuko that he wanted to turn over the entire 1,000 autumns with his own hands, and just in case, she would give her newly developed and unreleased Black Tech Miracle Potion. Turning away, Ling Si thanked her and said that he would not need to use any potions this time. Vankafis exclaimed that he was too confident in himself because he was going against an entire guild alone. She said it was her newest invention and it was incredible. She said that if he drinks this potion before a battle, when his HP drops to 0, the effect of the immortality potion will be activated and it will forcibly restore 1 HP, once preventing his death. The main character turned around interestedly. Vankafis said that even she can only make one for now, because the materials needed for production are too heaven-defying. She told him to take the potion and maybe it would be useful to him one day. Holding the potion in his hand, Ling Si thought that he had never thought that he would use it in the real world. He thought that the game world was in a state of renewal right now, and he didn't know if it would affect her ability to bring items from the game into reality. Gritting his teeth, he thought that he could only try. A bright light was visible from the window outside. Something like a comet was flying across the sky. It fell to the ground with a crash. A passerby asked in amazement what it was. Dark lines descended to the ground, and someone exclaimed that this was a mount from the game and awakened. He ran down the hospital corridor and the nurse shouted at him not to run around the hospital. Dark Lions found himself in front of ICU room 3. Opening the door, he loudly called out to Tika. The main character told him to be quiet. Turning around, he said that her vital signs had just recovered. Patting Tika on the head, Dark Lions thanked him. He said he was glad he was there, otherwise she might have died. Ling Si said that even if he uses an item from the game, he can only guarantee that Tika will survive. And now she is no different from a vegetable. He wondered why it was a vegetable again. Dark Lion said that she is not an ordinary awakened, and few people can harm her in the real world. He said that based on what he said earlier, what the army revealed, along with what Tika said on the phone, there was a high chance that it was something that came from the game that did it. Ling Si asked why it was targeting her. Dark Lines, lowering his head, said that he would find out now, and he could not sit quietly on the sidelines and not know anything when Tika was harmed. Turning around, she told him to take him to the place where she was attacked. They stood in front of a white outline of a man on the asphalt with dried blood. Dark Lion said that it was very close to his house, and if he had not gone very far, he could have come running the moment she called him. He said that then she wouldn't have had to suffer. The main character said that it was not his fault, and Tika told him that he went far away for research purposes. Dark Lion said, Egypt. Ling Si thought that it had been at most 5 hours since the call, and he was able to return so quickly. Dark Lions put on strange glasses and the main character asked what he was wearing. Dark Lion said that this is equipment that he invented in order to detect fluctuations in game data and reality. Ling Si asked if this is not what he saw from the military today. Dark Lion said that it is more advanced than the army. He said that his equipment can see a concrete picture of data fluctuations in the real world over a certain period. He said that the data fluctuations of that baby carriage are very strong. He looked in amazement towards the stroller. Dark Lion saw dark energy pierce Tika's body, lifting her into the air. He saw Badge of the Glorious among the dark energy. Ling Si asked what he saw. Dark Lion said that the reason it targeted Tika was to take away her Badge of the Glorious. The main character frowned tensely. Adolf turned to the general. The general asked what happened. Adolf said that judging by the images from the equipment, the rift is rapidly shrinking right now. He said that, at the same time, the Heavenland development team sent them a message that the game's self-awareness had announced the end of the update. The dialog box says, Hello, dear players of Heavenland. The game update will end at 2 p.m. tomorrow. We welcome all players to enjoy the gaming experience of the new world to the fullest. Looking at the clouds floating in the sky, Dark Lion said that the game will finish updating at 2 p.m. He asked Ling Si what he thought. The main character asked what else he could think. He said that from the information they had, this update was entirely the work of the game's AI after it took control. Lowering his head, he said that regarding whether the thing that attacked Tika and the thing that gave Xiaolan the chip were directly related, he believed that the likelihood that they were closely related was extremely high. He said that if, despite being a piece of game data, they can come into the real world and harm people's safety, then there is definitely some kind of scheme behind the game restarting after an update. Raising his palm, Ling Si said that before they knew all the details of the situation, allowing AI to control Heavenland was too dangerous, and they should cooperate with the military to deny access to the game. Darkline said it was useless. Opening his eyes, he said that Heavenland had become deeply connected to the functioning of society as a whole, and if the truth became public, even the military would not be able to deal with the consequences. He said that in order to maintain order, they will choose the conservative side, and he sees right through them. Darkline said he believes the military's weakness lies here. He added that the game developers have not yet regained control of the game, so the military is even more helpless. Ling Si asked if he meant that even though they knew the truth, they could only let the situation develop. Darkline said that this rift had already broken the boundary between reality and the game he was constantly worried about, and many things were already out of control. He said that all they can do is choose whether they, as people who know the truth, will take on this responsibility to protect or change something as much as they can, even if they have to pay a great price. Ling Si frowned decisively in response. As he left, Dark Lines told him to follow his heart. Frowning his brows, he said that he definitely chooses to be the first one to enter the game because he is obliged to avenge Tika. The main character sent a message to everyone by phone. He wrote that the Heavenland update this time is not an ordinary update. Coco Lee and Tiana noticed the notification from the main character. Ling Si wrote that there is a great danger hidden in the contents of this update, likely exceeding the scale of the game itself. Stillwaters, with a cup of tea in his hand, turned his attention to the phone. The main character wrote that due to some circumstances he cannot explain the details. Narlo, lying in bed, saw a message from Ling Si on his phone. Dark Feather looked at his phone while sitting among the bushes and grass. Ling Si wrote that they should all take his words seriously and carefully consider whether they would enter Heavenland again. Tilly's, while beating a punching bag, noticed an alert on her phone. The main character wrote that the upcoming game could potentially affect everyone's real lives. A tired Ruko, surrounded by stacks of books, glanced at his phone. Ling Si asked everyone to think carefully. Xiao Lan, putting on a gaming helmet, said that it was not easy for her not to get banned. Touching the screen with her hand, she said that her luxury cars, cosmetics, beautiful clothes, and her wonderful future as a rich woman could only be realized through the game. The system reported that the game update has been completed and they are ready to welcome players to a more realistic Heavenland. Northern Kingdom Mission Hall. People began to appear in the building. Xiao Lan wondered if she would be persecuted in the game this time, and she had to be careful. Looking around, she thought that she had definitely quit the game at Thousand Autumn's headquarters. She wondered why she showed up at Northern Mission Hall. She thought that it was already filled with players who had entered the game. The girl asked someone where they were. She said that she was sent to Northern Kingdom's Mission Hall immediately after entering the game. She exclaimed that they were in the Southern Mission Hall. Xiao Lan, looking at the dialogue box, thought that she needed to quickly contact Longface and J-Run. She wondered if they were online. Hearing the noise, she looked to the side. The crowd surrounded someone and asked if this was not the thief who killed Thousand Autumn's guildmaster on the broadcast right before the update. Someone else exclaimed that it was really him, a thief in green clothes with long ears. J-Run, standing among the crowd, scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. The guy exclaimed that he was able to kill Kyujin Shin despite being a level 81 thief. He asked how he did it. Another guy said that it was a war between Thousand Autumns and Penumbra, but he is not a member of either guild. J-Run closed his eyes and smiled awkwardly. He remembered how he asked in amazement that he would allow them to deal the final blow to Kyujin Shin. Ling Si said that he had already told someone to report the news to the reporter at Heavenland's forum, and the moment he was about to kill Kyujin Shin, one of them would come out and deal the final blow. He said that this way the entire Heavenland would remember them. The main character said that because of him, Thousand Autumn started hunting them, so he wants to use the attention from killing Kyujin Shin and winning the guild war to protect them. He said that if they took the life of Kyujin Shin, not only would they be able to avenge anti-mainstream, but it would also create curiosity and admiration for them among the players. J-Run countered that they were just ordinary players, and even if they had such fame, sooner or later they would be exposed. Ling Si told them, taking advantage of the identity of the mysterious group of 4 who were hired by Penumbra to kill the head of the Thousand Autumns Guild, the number 1 guild, to join their guild, Penumbra. J-Run opened his mouth in amazement. The main character asked to allow the entire Penumbra guild to protect them in the game. He told him to hurry up and tell the others the plan. J-Run said that this was because they were hired to help Penumbra prevent bullying in the game, to keep the peace in the game intact. As he struck a pose, he raised his index finger up and said, "Combining love and justice together, they are a cute but mysterious grassroots character hidden among the ordinary players." He shouted that the Chosen Four were announcing their entry into Penumbra. People screamed in admiration, except for someone who said the name sounded stupid. Xiao Lan said dissatisfiedly that this name was too embarrassing. J-Run said that this is the plan that Ling Si came up with to protect them in the game, and now they will have Penumbra's support. Xiao Lan asked if he came up with the name himself. J-Run said he thought Anti-Mainstream would like the name. Closing his eyes, he said that he and Anti-Mainstream really love this kind of Chunabu thing, and he can imagine that he will be happy when he sees this title in the game when he recovers. Xiao Lan smiled silently in response. She said that they need to find the nearest portal and meet Longface. J-Run agreed and said that they need to find Ling Si to accept them into the guild. The guy knocking on the door asked why the mission hall was closed after such a long time. Another guy asked what kind of mission hall is this if there isn't even one NPC here. The guy with purple hair shouted that there were no system instructions either. He asked if the game restarted prematurely when the update wasn't ready yet. The other guy said that he couldn't use high-level teleportation scrolls. He asked if they wanted to trap the players here. The guy with purple hair kicked the door hard. He shouted angrily that his grandmother's treatment was almost delayed because of an NPC last time, and now there was some kind of bug that had trapped players. He said he needed to raise his level. He asked if it was really impossible to even play this game now. Xiao Lan asked what was going on here. J-Run asked that the game servers have been open for several hours, but the developers still cannot fix the bug. The purple-haired guy spat in annoyance and cursed about how this game opens while the update is not completed. Turning around, he said that he would go spam management with reports. Suddenly, the blade smashed through the door with force. The sword pierced the purple-haired guy's body, spraying blood. Xiao Lan and J-Run opened their mouths in shock. The guy fell to the floor and the door was destroyed. Someone asked if it was a monster attack. The guy shouted no. He exclaimed that it was an NPC. The dialogue box says, to enhance the sense of realism experienced by players, this huge update brings epic scale changes. A level 97 guy was lying on the floor among the stone debris. Gritting his teeth, he thought that he should avoid these NPCs and escape. The level 120 Central Kingdom guard attacked him, and the guy thought that he would survive. Blood sprayed. The dialogue box says, in order to increase the excitement of players and the fun of battles, Heavenland has thoughtfully raised the general level of NPCs to a minimum of 120. This means that players must level up quickly to fend off NPC attacks. Central Kingdom was on fire. The guy, running away, shouted that they were chasing them. The dialogue box says, the purpose of this update is to maximally enhance the excitement and realism of the game. NPCs caught up and killed players. A sword was stabbed into the chest of a guy in black clothes, and there was a pool of blood underneath. The dialogue box says, thus, players can neither exit the game nor automatically respawn after death. The magician shouted that running was useless and it was just a game. He said the players who are still alive must unite and fight back. Someone shouted that this was an elite NPC, and the guy opened his mouth in amazement. The Central Kingdom elite guard was rapidly approaching on a ghostly horse. His eyes glowed red under his helmet. Running among the players, he swung his sword. The level 103 player fell to the ground to the horror of those around him. The guy said in shock that it really killed a level 103 player with one hit, and this difference in levels is too great. Another guy asked why they were still fighting when they needed to escape. The guy in armor flew out the window. The street was shrouded in smoke. The guy, peeking around the corner, thought that he was barely able to escape from the mission hall, taking advantage of the chaos. Bailai, the former leader of the Nebulous Guild, gritted his teeth and thought that this game announcement was not a joke at all, and the entire Heavenland had turned into a war between players and NPCs. Looking at the guy sticking out of the window, he thought that if the announcement that players would not be able to revive was also true, he thought that the body had not really disappeared. Bailai noticed the inscription 404 above the body. The dialogue box says, the player has entered the death state and will not respawn. He wondered if the player's connection had been lost. He noticed someone approaching. An NPC guard was walking nearby. When he turned the corner, he found Bailai lying on the ground. Above it was the inscription, 404. He opened his eyes. As he watched the NPC leave, he thought it had worked. As he rose to his feet, he thought that the NPC had indeed perceived him as a dead target, and he could play dead if he temporarily disconnected from the game. He thought that he really was a genius and he could survive like this. Someone shouted to listen to him and said that senseless flight will only lead to senseless death, and they must unite. Violet thought that there seemed to be overly confident players who were shouting slogans of unity again, and before they were killed, he would flee this city. He stopped and widened his eyes in shock. The guy with blue hair shouted to trust Tiana's words. Tiana stood with her companions, surrounded by a yellow magical barrier. Potion King Commercial Street. The building was surrounded by green smoke. The armored men coughed. Vankafis, standing on the roof, thought that there was no mission hall on Potion King Avenue, and there should only be NPCs on the street. With a determined frown, she said that she wouldn't be polite and they should be grateful that they were NPCs, because if they were regular players, they wouldn't be able to last more than 10 seconds in her special poison gas. She thought that due to the guild war that Lingxi started to mobilize a large number of players, Potion King Commercial Street had a moment of leisure. She took advantage of this rare free time to gather the precious herbs she was looking for. Frowning, Vankafis thought that just when she was about to start researching these hard-earned herbs, this sudden update took her by surprise. She thought she had entered the game the moment the update finished, but was greeted by a battle between players and NPCs. While drinking the potion, she thought that she had gone through all these difficulties to get out of the mission hall alive and get to Potion King Avenue as soon as possible. Looking at the two buildings of her store, Vankafis thought that her precious herbs were still in the building. Enveloped in green energy, she thought that she didn't care about any new gameplay. Running forward, she shouted that she was only interested in the fact that soon an even more powerful potion would be created by her hands, and no one would be able to stop her. Leaving a green trail in the air, she made a huge leap between buildings. There was someone standing on the tower with a blue magic circle. It was Potion King Building Long Range Guard level 120. Vankafis said she would not have spent so much money hiring these guards if she had known in advance. He used Prismatic Barrier Potion. Potion King Tree can significantly reduce the cooldown time of using medicinal items. Medical items of different attributes can be infinitely stacked. A rainbow stream appeared in the air. Prismatic Barrier Potion, Special Potion, forms a prismatic barrier around the user after consumption. This barrier can block subsequent attacks and significantly weaken the strength of the attacks. Lasts for 1 minute. This item is an exclusive product of the Potion King. Extremely expensive. A rainbow flash flashed in the air. A stream of rainbow energy hit the tower with force. Vankafis thought that even after stacking 2 exclusive powerful potions, she could only remove so little HP, and the gap between their levels was too high. She thought that she urgently needed to escape. Looking at the red alarm, she thought that Potion King Enterprise had been created by her sweat and blood over the years. When she popped the cap of the potion bottle, she thought she was the manager of the place, but the security system was used against her, which is ironic. The guards on the top floor shouted about an intrusion. Vankafis used Rabbit Rush Potion and jumped to the second floor, throwing a maddening smoke pouch at them. She said that it was a gift for them. Green gas came out through the holes in the window and the guards began to cough violently. Vankafis pulled the door handle and the dialogue box reads, "Identity confirmed, Potion King." Upon entering Potion King Garden, she said that she had finally returned. Someone behind her greeted her back. Someone swung the blade and Vankafis fell to the floor. She said it wasn't surprising because the security system would have been able to identify her. Looking up, she said that in Potion King Enterprise, she was the only one who had the authority to change the security system. Xiao Lin, with a dagger in her hand, told her to die. A guy with blonde hair stretched out his hand and called for help. Something hit him hard on the head. People were running away from Western Kingdom guards armed with red hammers. Temptress, watching from above, said it was tragic. She asked what the situation was. She added that there are no messages from the family either. Frowning, she said that she couldn't contact Kyujin Shin either. Temptress asked if they had all forgotten about her. Sighing, she said they were heartless. She said that on this battlefield, reminiscent of a massacre, players and NPCs fight to the death. Smoke was coming from under the helmet of one of the guards. A magical blue shot hit him on the head. The guy asked if he was saved. Another guy told him to stop daydreaming and start running. Shots of blue magic sparkled from the tower window. The shot hit the guard who was running after the guy with the bow. 2 more shots hit 2 guards. Temptress thought in amazement that someone was saving others. The guards continued to attack. Darkfeather sat inside the tower. His eye burned with blue fire. Surrounded by crows, he jumped out of the window. A yellow magic circle appeared in front of the NPC. Darkfeather summoned his pistols, dodging the attack. Using Night Rain of Crows, he opened fire with his pistols. Crows filled the street. Several steel spiked balls with chains flew through the air. They were approaching Dark Feather from behind. The purple magic circle blocked the attack. Temptress used Charm Formation Transfer, and the guards' weapons hit them. Temptress asked if he saves people now. She said that she had to admit that the Penumbra people really like to interfere. Licking her lips, she said that she remembered that he still hadn't collected the debt from them for ruining her plans in Mad King Dungeon. Calling him a boy who loves to play with birds, she asked how about becoming her slave to protect her. Pink particles surrounded Dark Feather. Temptress used Demonic Charm Pollen. Dark Feather pointed the barrel of his gun at her. With a serious face, he asked if she wanted to die. Temptress wondered why her charm wasn't working. The blue energy was coming towards them and someone yelled at them to dodge. A large blast of blue energy hit the ground. Someone used AoE magic, thunder arrow spread, and electricity spread across the street. Blue Cloud thought with a smile that, thanks to the fact that Dark Feather had distracted the guards, they had become concentrated, and it was much easier for him to deal with them. He thought that they could still delay them using AoE-like skills. Looking at the exit from the city, he thought that almost all the surviving players had left the city. He shouted to Dark Feather to retreat. Temptress said that she and Blue Cloud are working together to allow other players to escape. Blue Cloud suggested with a wide smile that she should stop staring and start running away, otherwise the attention of those NPCs might focus on her. Temptress covered herself with her hands, blushing, and Blue Cloud asked if one girl like her could say hello to them all. Coco Lee, standing among the trees, asked Stillwaters to respond to her message. Looking at the dialogue box, she thought that she couldn't contact anyone, including Ling Si. She wondered if communications had also been disrupted. Frowning, she wondered what kind of situation this was, as if all the NPCs in Heavenland had become demons. Coco Lee thought that Ling Si definitely knew something about this slaughterhouse game between players and NPCs. Remembering his message, she thought that otherwise he would not have sent them such a message. The wind blew and Coco Lee thought that he told them to think carefully about whether to enter the game without telling them anything specific. She wondered how they could not return to the game, since Penumbra had just achieved a big win at Thousand Autumns. Looking to the side, she thought her priority should be finding Stillwaters. Coco Lee noticed something among the trees. On the ground, leaning his back against a tree, lay a man with a broken armor on his chest. Kneeling down on one knee, she thought that it seemed that some players had already taken this road to victory. And in this situation, without the ability to use the portal function, it was safer to use small roads, since it might reduce the chances of encountering NPCs. Looking at his injury, she thought that this injury did not look like something that an NPC could have done. Red eyes flashed in the darkness among the trees. Birds flew out of the trees and Coco Lee's eyes widened. Vankafis was thrown aside by a strong blow. Xiao Lin was approaching her and Vankafis asked her to wake up. Wearily raising her head, she said that she was her boss. Holding a dagger shrouded in red energy in her hand, Xiao Lin said that she must die. She swung her dagger and Vankafis dodged the stream of red energy. Red energy cut flowers in the garden. A fist shrouded in yellow energy was approaching Xiao Lin. Vankafis' blow knocked her aside. Frowning, she said that the person who can hurt plants without mercy is no longer the Xiao Lin she knows. There was a torrential downpour, and lightning flashed among the clouds. Central Kingdom suburbs. The double wooden door slammed shut. The guy said that it looks like those NPCs aren't following them anymore, and they seem to have pulled away for now. Tiana suggested resting and reorganizing. The guy said that they survived, but many players were unable to escape from Central Kingdom. Another guy said that thanks to Tiana's leadership, they were able to fight back. The boy with blonde hair objected, turning to Tiana. He asked why she brought him along with them, since he was the man who betrayed their guild and joined Wolf's Fang, by a lie. By a lie folded his arms and suggested not discussing things that happened in the past. The guy in armor said that he recognized him and they were both in the same mission hall. He said he was the player who pushed other players towards the guards to save his own life. Tiana said they haven't seen each other for a long time, but he doesn't seem to have changed at all. The girl exclaimed that they should not have allowed him to join their team. The guy said that even though it was a game, his actions were too immoral. The other guy said in fear that he was scary. Bailai said that all they could say was that it was just a game and that was his instinctive reaction when faced with danger. The girl with black hair offered to kick him out. Bailai said that he also helped when they ran away. He asked why they began to behave like noble people. Someone said he should just leave voluntarily. The others unanimously began to demand that he leave. Tiana stopped them. She said that when he joined them, he mentioned a method for avoiding the NPC's pursuit, so she didn't hesitate to let him join them. She said that in order to regain the trust of the others, he must confess now. The others asked if it was true. Lai gritted his teeth. Smirking, he said that he was originally going to tell them, but with their attitude towards him, if he told them now, he would lose his value. He said now was not the time to say that and they could kick him out if they dared. The guy with blonde hair said that he wasn't originally going to tell them. The guy with dark hair shouted at everyone to stop being so noisy. He said that he doesn't believe that he has such a method at all and he is just playing drama at a time like this. Grinning, he said that it seems that Penumbra's management and leadership isn't that good at all. The guy with blonde hair asked what kind of nonsense he was talking about. Pointing his hand towards the huge room, he said that they had entered such a huge bungalow, and the first thing they should have done was to go in search of resources that they could use to prepare for the future, rather than listen to them argue. He said that if they didn't go, he would do it himself. Tiana said that they shouldn't act alone when they still don't understand the situation around them. The girl said with a greedy smile that he seemed more reliable and they should go looking for resources now. The guy with blonde hair said irritably that he had no brains in the midst of chaos, but now that he was safe, he decided to take the lead. One after another, people followed him. Tiana asked him if he could contact Dira. The guy said no and he has absolutely no signal. Tiana said they were able to do this when they first entered the game, but now they can't contact the others. She asked if they wanted the players to defend themselves. The guy said that this bungalow is very big. He asked if NPCs were hiding here. Another guy said that if they were here, they would have appeared a long time ago. He asked if he forgot how these NPCs chased them and killed them. The guy in the armor asked the other guy if they had found anything. The other guy said no, there's nothing here at all, and logically speaking game design means there should be some items here. He guessed that other players had already searched the place, but this place was so clean, it didn't look like a place that anyone had searched. The girl with black hair peeked around the corner. Looking down the corridor, she thought that this level 101 warrior must have come here. She wondered where he had gone. Noticing the cabinet, she said, "This old cabinet is so out of place." She opened her eyes in shock and cold sweat ran down her face. She exclaimed that this was the hand of that night. The bloody corpse of a warrior lay upside down in the closet. Everyone turned around at the loud scream. The girl shouted to everyone to be careful because there was danger here, and this level 101 warrior was killed. A blade of red energy swiftly cut through the air. Little Bean and Tiana opened their mouths in amazement. The blade pierced the girl's chest, spraying blood. The guy in armor shouted at them not to believe her, because he saw everything. She shouted that the real level 92 mage girl had already been killed. Sawyer, shrouded in steam, said, even if they are all level 120 guards, they might not think about breaking through his defense so easily. His eyes glowed red under his helmet and he was level 100. Eastern Kingdom. There was a large whirlwind among the buildings. Sawyer said he pinned them down and now it's his turn. Narlo swung his sword using Hidden Dragon. A huge dragon made of blue energy emerged from his sword. Electricity struck the ground, scattering stone fragments. Narlo, upon landing, said that he had not logged into the game for a long time, and his body felt sluggish. He said that his character was even killed twice, and now he is only level 89, but fortunately, his skills still have enough damage. Sawyer said that now his small damage is not enough to break his armor like last time. Narlo said he was tough and suggested they run while they could push those NPCs away. He said that he still needed to find Ling Si. Sawyer saw the sails of the ship and shouted to him to wait. Narlo stopped and turned around. Sawyer raised his visor with a grin and said that he had a way to get out of here faster. There were many empty potion bottles on the ground. Vankafis thought that she had used all her potions to deal with Xiao Lin. Xiao Lin was lying on the ground and her health bar was empty. Breathing heavily, Vankafis thought that she now did not have enough potions to continue fighting. As she sank to the ground, she thought that her body was also tired. There was a loud knock on the door, and she thought that other NPC guards were also gathered outside the door to the garden, and it was only a matter of time before they made their way inside. Leaning her head against the wall, Vankafis thought that it looks like this is as far as she can go, and she was unable to make new potions in time. She thought she felt sorry for her new herbs. Someone called out to her and she opened her eyes. Vankafis looked up and the garden roof began to shake. A huge stone broke through the roof. Vankafis, widening her eyes in amazement, thought it was Ruko. The huge Ruko, shrouded in yellow energy, said that he had arrived. Snow was falling on the trees. Northern Kingdom was smoking. Someone shouted that it was safe here. The guy asked the Chosen Four if they didn't have the strength to defeat the Thousand Autumns Guildmaster and maintain peace in the game. The red-skinned guy asked if in this situation they shouldn't lead them and cover them. He said that all this time they did nothing but run away. He asked if they weren't too useless. He exclaimed that they were disgracing Penumbra. Jae-run smiled awkwardly and said that they just didn't fully understand the situation and it wasn't time for them to act yet. He wanted to join Penumbra, but he has no signal. He thought that he couldn't contact Ling Si at all, and this situation would quickly ruin Ling Si's plan. Xiao Lan smiled awkwardly and suggested not to talk about it for now, because survival was more important, and to run away until the NPCs chased them. The girl shouted and looked up. The guard jumped at them to attack from above. Xiao Lan and Jae-run exclaimed that they were finished. A ball of blue energy threw the guard aside. The sphere pinned him to the wall. Jae-run asked what happened. Xiao Lan said that she thought she was finished. The red-skinned guy exclaimed that it was incredible. He exclaimed that nothing less could be expected from Chosen 4. The girl exclaimed that they were able to send a level 120 guard flying without any effort. The red-skinned guy said he was just rude and they are incredible. Someone was watching them through the optical interface, and Jae-run suggested they run for now. The guy exclaimed that Chosen 4 are very reliable. The observer sat in the tower, surrounded by spheres of energy. Mijin said that he would not allow anyone to harm Xiao Lan, his goddess. Blushing, he smiled lovingly. The sphere of energy hit another guard. The spheres killed the guards in front of them. The city fortress remained behind them. Xiao Lan said that they fled the city. Jae-run said that these guards were blocked by something, as if someone was still protecting them. The red guy thanked them, and they looked tiredly in his direction. He said they were able to escape the city thanks to them. The crowd of players joyfully raised their fists in the air. Xiao Lan said that they even gained a few fans. Xiao Lan noticed something. Jae-run said about the silhouettes on the opposite rock. Longface said that they were still able to contact each other after entering the game, so he knew that they were in the Northern Kingdom, but he was very worried when he couldn't contact them. Jae-run exclaimed that it was Longface and he was fine. Xiao Lan said with a smile that she was worried that he couldn't survive. Jae-run asked if Dira from Penumbra was next to him. Longface said that he was only able to reach the Northern Kingdom because he met Dira. Xiao Lan said that she was glad that he was alive because she was very worried. Someone asked if they were also members of Chosen 4. Mijin, looking at Longface, thought that this man could receive such attention and care from Xiao Lan. He opened his mouth and thought it was a sign of danger. Coco Lee's face was covered in wounds. Red eyes glowed in the dark. Someone's blow threw Coco Lee aside. She fell into the crater on the ground. Breathing heavily, he thought that not only NPCs were now level 120. Her health bar was approaching 0, and she thought that even the wild elite monsters were now also at the maximum level. Elite Hunfeng Orc bare his teeth, and Coco Lee wondered if the game really wanted to kill all the players. She remembered Stillwater's smiling face. The monster raised his huge leg above her. Coco Lee grabbed her golden bow. As she drew the magic arrow, she thought that she could not die before she found him. She used Starry Mist Sparkle and a magical shot flashed through the trees. Coco Lee stood in a dissipating cloud of dust. Frowning, she used Beast Perception. She took aim at several trees in her field of vision. Using precise multi-shot, she fired yellow magic arrows. Her magical shots smashed the trees one by one. The monster was visible among the trees. Coco Lee hid behind the corpse of a guy in armor. She thought that she was using this corpse to hide her scent and escape. The monster turned away and she began to run. A crescent moon was shining in the sky. The wind carried leaves through the air around an abandoned wooden house. Lying on the floor, Coco Lee thought that she had run out of HP potions, and with her current HP she would not be able to survive even one hit. With her hand on her head, she thought that she had suffered from an ordinary wild elite monster, and she never would have thought that the day would come when she, Coco Lee, would fall so low. Gritting her teeth, she covered her eyes with her hand. Wiping her eyes, she called the name Stillwaters and said that it was very dark in here. Coco Lee remembered how someone grabbed little Stillwaters by the collar. After punching him in the face, the boy said that his father told him that he was the son of the head of a financial group. He said it was that tech business tycoon his dad always talks about. Laughing, he asked why his son was so cowardly and weak. Stillwaters, fallen to the ground, cried helplessly. Someone's leg flew through the air. Little Coco Lee kicked the boy and said that he was forbidden to hurt Stillwaters. The boy, running away, said that he would return home and tell his father about everything that had happened. Coco Lee told Stillwaters not to be afraid because she is here. Turning around, she told him with a smile that he needed to learn to stand up for himself. Stillwaters said with a smile that everything would be fine as long as Coco Lee was around. Coco Lee suggested that we hurry home because it would be dark soon and she was afraid of the dark. Stillwaters said it would then be his turn to defend her. Coco Lee told him to take care of himself first. Noticing the light, she opened her eyes and asked if it was morning. In front of her was a yellow magic circle. Holy Tracking Seal, Holy Priest class exclusive skill. Effect 1. After casting the seal on a player or teammate, if the target's HP is completely depleted, there is a chance that a Holy Shield will automatically activate and recover their HP. The recovered HP is transferred from 90% of the caster's HP. Effect 2. The caster can track the location of the target. A bright light shone through the window on which there was a magic circle. The bright light enveloped the building and Coco Lee walked outside. She looked to the side in amazement. Stillwaters, shrouded in yellow light, called out to her while standing on the rock. Coco Lee happily exclaimed that he was okay. Stillwaters held the magic circle in his palm and smiled. There were many different people sitting on the grass. Stillwaters said with a smile that these were the players he had healed on the way to her, and they thought he was pretty reliable, so they followed him. He said that he even heard most of them say that they want to join Penumbra after all this. Coco Lee asked where he came from. Stillwaters replied, near the Southern Kingdom. Coco Lee said that this is Central Kingdom's northern region, and it is very far away. Looking at him, she thought that he decided to come alone and saved so many players along the way, and he is no longer the crybaby he was as a child. She asked when he managed to put this seal. Stillwaters, closing his eyes, said that he already had this skill when he completed his class mission around level 50. Coco Lee exclaimed that she then asked what class exclusive skill he had, but he said that he did not have it. Stillwaters said that because if he told her, she wouldn't let him use it on her. Smiling, he said that he knew her strong character and her weakness, her fear of the dark. Coco Lee smiled, and Stillwaters said that this light could dispel the darkness she fears, and it could also allow him to find her as soon as possible. A dialogue box appeared in front of them, and they asked in amazement that the broken messaging system had returned. They opened their eyes in amazement. The guy shouted to Tiana and the others to listen to him, and he said that he definitely saw this mage girl on the second floor, and there she was dead and crucified. He remembered a girl covered in blood and nailed to the window in the pose of a cross. The guy frowned and said that was why he killed the fake. Bailai, looking at the corpse of the girl with the number 404, said that no matter how you look at it, this is the same magician girl. The guy from above shouted that they looked on the second floor. He said that there was no such corpse of the magician girl he was talking about. The guy exclaimed that this was impossible. Tiana, surrounded by green energy, ordered his capture. The guy covered in vines said that he really saw it and they should believe him. He said he didn't want to kill her. The guy in the armor, calling him a psycho, told him to shut up and asked if he was crazy from this NPC slaughtering player game. The guy with the light ones asked where the other two players were, who had gone upstairs in search of the corpse. The girl opened her eyes in amazement, standing at the top. The others asked where they were. The girl turned around and said that they should have already returned. Tiana frowned and said she had a bad feeling. She said everyone would go upstairs together. There was a red carpet laid out in the hallway. The guy pointed to the door and said that this room was open. Tiana carefully looked inside. The pupils of her eyes narrowed. Two corpses lay on the floor in the room, and she screamed. An arrow was sticking out of the guy's forehead, and blood was flowing from his mouth. There was a bloody sword sticking out of the other guy's chest. One of them had many arrows in his body. The guy said that the wounds on their bodies are all from skills. He said they couldn't be saved and it was probably a double suicide. The girl asked why, since they were fine when they went upstairs. Little Bean said it's weird and this place is abnormal. Tiana's eyes widened. Turning around, she shouted that they urgently needed to go downstairs. Blood poured from the guy's mouth, bound with vines. Above his body was the inscription 404, and Bailai said that he was also killed. The guy in armor kicked the door and said that he couldn't open the doors. The guy, shooting spells at the window, said that he couldn't break the windows, and as expected, there was something wrong with the place. Lightning flashed outside the window, exclaiming that 4 people had already died here. Someone asked if they would all die here. An ice bow and arrow appeared in Bailai's hand. Frowning with hostility, he asked the girl thief if she was the culprit. Tiana asked what he was doing. Bailai said that she had been following her for a long time, and when that level 101 warrior suggested looking for supplies, she was the second to follow him, after the deceased level 92 mage girl. He said that after that, the warrior and the magician both seemed to go crazy, and of the 3 who went up in search of the corpse that the warrior mentioned, she was the only one who was able to return. He said that when they went upstairs to find the missing players by tying up the level 101 warrior on the first floor, he specifically paid attention to her actions. He said that she was already at the entrance to the second floor, but she followed them from behind when they went to look for people, and she definitely killed him with some special trick. The girl said no in fear. Bailai told her not to try to be cunning to survive. He said he would just kill her and then they would know if he was right. Tiana wrapped the vines around him and shouted at him to stop. Frowning, she told everyone to stop trying to kill each other because it was a trap that this villa had set for them. The window outside was covered with drops of water. Tiana, looking out the window, said that it looked like it was almost morning. She said the rain outside seemed to be getting lighter too. Bai Lai asked what if the rain stops since they are all trapped here. He told her that a lot of time had passed and nothing strange had happened to them after they tied this girl up. Bai Lai said that this means she is the problem and it will end when they kill her. The girl asked how many times she had already said that it was not her. The guy told everyone to listen to him. He said there was something wrong with the piano. Looking inside, he said that there are some loose marks from the liquid inside the piano that have not been cleaned. And these marks look like blood. Running up, someone said that none of those 4 players died here. Tiana told Little Bean to use fluorescent magic. The end of his staff began to glow and they exclaimed in amazement. The dialogue box says, "Music encryption magic discovered. Please play the encryptor's specified music using the designated instrument to obtain the encrypted message." Inside the piano there was an inscription, "Cannon." Little Bean said that it was not surprising that there were no supplies here, and that level 91 Archer's analysis was right. He said that others had already come here before them, and this music encryption magic was the clue left by the magician on this piano before falling into the pool of his blood. Bai Lai asked who could play such a melody on the piano. Tiana began to press the piano keys. She played a melody on the piano with a smile. The boys blushed as they looked at her. Thinking of her smile, Bai Lai thought that although they had not seen each other for so long, she was still charming. The floor nearby began to move apart. Little Bean exclaimed that this was a secret passage. The tied-up girl asked to take her with her because she was scared. Little Bean said there is a music sheet here. The dialogue box says, "Canon piano music sheet." Put the music sheet back to where it was, and the secret passage will open. The guy said that this puzzle didn't require the player to know how to play canon, and they just had to find the item and put it back. Tiana said that it seemed like this villa was originally the location of the puzzle quest. She asked why it became a killing space, which completely confuses players. She said that it looked like they would have to move forward if they wanted to find out what was going on here, and they wouldn't be able to get out anyway if they stayed here. She said she didn't want to wait for anyone to die here. There were 2 ominous silhouettes outside the wet window. The players went down the stone passage. When they opened the door, they were greeted by a bright light. Bai Lai looked down in amazement. Looking at the many barred doors, he said that this was an underground prison. The guy in the armor said that there was such a big prison under the villa, and judging by the size, the original quest was not at all easy. A dialogue box appeared in front of them, and Tiana asked about the communication message. She looked at the dialogue box in shock. Dark Feather shot at the guards with a sniper rifle. He fired another shot, surrounded by sparks. Blue Cloud ordered him to cover the front lines and ordered frontline troops to defend the gate, and not allow the NPCs to break through. He ordered the magicians to conduct long-range guerrilla. He asked where the witch from Thousand Autumns was. Temptress said with a smile that men are very impatient. Sticking her tongue out, she flew through the air using group demonic charm pollen. Beneath her feet was the advent of a Thousand Autumns base. A Temptress said that if her charm skills weren't so effective against NPCs, their journey wouldn't be so relaxing. She said that they were even able to take base of her guild. The enchanted Blue Cloud agreed, and Dark Feather shot him in the head with a pistol. Rubbing her head, Blue Cloud asked why she had charmed her own ally. Looking down, he said that now, even if they had occupied Base A, it was too difficult to continue defending it. He said that initially, in order not to keep running around avoiding NPCs, they needed to secure a foothold, so they used this base as a camp. Frowning, Blue Cloud said that capturing Base A in daylight was not at all difficult, but they would not be able to continue defending against a large number of level 120 NPCs for long. He said their numbers and levels are too low. His hair fluttered and he said that the consumable items they had with them were not enough to continue the defense. Looking at the battle below, Blue Cloud said that these NPCs were all deliberately gathering here to destroy them. The blade pierced the guy's chest and he screamed. Dark Feather asked if he wanted to retreat. Blue Cloud said that protecting this place overnight was their limit. Frowning, he said that if this continues, only destruction awaits them. He said to retreat while it was light. He told Dark Feather that he would cover the other players while they retreated. Temptress asked where they could retreat to. She said that they could even hold this strategic location, specially created by Thousand Autumns for defense. She asked where else they could secure a foothold. Blue Cloud said that they could only retreat, and to be honest, even he had run out of ideas. because there was too much of a gap between their forces and the NPC army. A dialogue box appeared in front of Dark Feather. He said they now have a foothold. Blue Cloud looked at him questioningly. Dark Feather said that Ling Si had captured the advent of 1,000 Autumn's headquarters. Ira exclaimed that she had received a message from Ling Si. Xiao Lan asked why he could send messages. Dira said it was a guild channel, and he said 1,000 Autumn's headquarters was safe. She said he wanted them to hurry there. Sawyer turned around and asked why he chose 1,000 Autumn's headquarters. Narlo asked with a grin who cares. He said that all he had to do was know where Ling Si was and he would rush to him at lightning speed. He said Penumbra is getting together. There was a mountain of corpses and swords on the ground. The fortress was engulfed in smoke. The main character stood on one of the towers. He thought that this also counted as the end of the last guild war. Looking up, he thought that he had occupied 1,000 Autumns in one day. Looking down, he thought that 1,000 Autumn's headquarters had been the right choice after all. Ling Si thought that for a castle built on a highland cliff like this, they only need to defend the castle gate, and they would be able to stop NPC attacks from all sides. He thought that he couldn't help but admire Kyujin Shin's skill in choosing strategic locations. Looking at the dialogue box, he thought that he had captured the guild area and successfully restored Penumbra's guild channel communications. The main character thought that according to the plan, in order to achieve victory in this war against the NPCs, there is a place that they must capture. Looking up ahead, he thought about his next goal. He mentally told Ruko and Vankafis to hold on because reinforcements were coming from all directions. One day ago, the dialogue box says, the game has finished updating. Welcome back to a more realistic Heavenland, dear adventurer. Southern Kingdom Mission Hall. An explosion occurred, destroying the wall of the building. Smoke rose into the sky and someone shouted that the NPC had killed someone. Steel boots walked on the ground. Someone in armor walked among a cloud of dust. Southern Kingdom guard gritted his teeth. He ran among the stone buildings. A green shot of magical energy hit one of the NPCs. There was a playing card on the magic circle, and Kyujin Shin asked about NPCs fighting players. Frowning, he asked what it was. He was level 113. A silhouette was visible among the splashes of blood. The guards, gritting their teeth, looked in his direction. Dark Lines, holding a sword in his hand, told them to attack him together and not waste his time. Squeezing the hilt of his sword, he said that he had very important business to do. Blue energy surrounded his blade. He said he needed to investigate. A stream of blue energy scattered the guards, throwing them over buildings. The guy looked at them and said that these players are incredible. He said that one of them is Kyujin Shin from 1,000 Autumns. He said that although he didn't recognize the other, he was a level 117 player. The two guys, hugging, said that they were lucky because they spawned together with these amazing players. The guy, pointing his finger forward, said that there was something even luckier there. Pointing his finger at the roof of the building, he said that there was currently the only maximum level player in Heavenland. The main character stood with his back to them, with his hands in his pants pockets. The guy said that this is the head of the Penumbra Guild, Ling Si. The main character jumped on the guards. He hit the ground hard and the guards turned around. A dagger appeared next to Ling Si's hand. He gripped the hilt of the dagger tightly in his hand, leaving behind a purple electrical trail. It destroyed nearby NPCs. Continuing to tear his opponents apart, he counted. Violet energy enveloped his dagger. After killing the next guard, Ling Si counted to 10. Sticking a dagger into the NPC's chest, he counted to 11. Frowning his brows, he thought that he needed 19 more. Throwing the opponents into the air, he killed them with purple energy and counted to 16. In the dialogue, the window says, Converted Soul Follower marks, 30 out of 60. The huge guard swung his hammer, and the main character said that he was just in time. Elite Southern Kingdom guard's mouth fell open. A huge skull shrouded in purple energy appeared above the ground. Green, blue, and purple pillars of energy rose above the ground in different places. The guy exclaimed that they really beat these level 120 NPCs so much that they ran away. Someone else exclaimed, it feels good to get carried. The guy in the armor said that ordinary players like them should take advantage of this chance to escape. Kyujin Shin said that although it is very strange since the situation at the moment is a fight against NPCs, it means that Heavenland's power dynamics have been completely reshuffled. He asked the protagonist if he was thinking about turning Southern Kingdom into a base. Dark Lines said that there is no point in taking this place, and there are many cities nearby around Southern Kingdom. He said that a new wave of NPCs would be arriving soon. Kyujin Shin asked where a warrior like him came from. He was even level 117, but he had never seen a person like him on the level leaderboard. Dark Lines, closing his eyes, said that this leaderboard has no value for him, and he hit his level a long time ago. Hyujin Shin said that there was already one Lingxi, and now there was someone else whose level was higher than him. Lingxi asked if he had received any information about this Players vs NPCs update. Hyujin Shin asked what he meant by this and who could have known about such a strange game update. After remaining silent, the main character thought that it seemed that this matter had almost nothing to do with the family. Hyujin Shin said that he wanted to ask him something. A magic circle appeared under his feet, and he said that, regardless of the reason, it seemed that the situation in which the players became enemies of the world had become a fact, and they needed to deal with it. Summoning Mount, Green Warbird climbed onto it and said that he would therefore leave first. As he took to the air, he said he hoped they could survive this conflict. Lingxi said that he might know something. Dark Lion said he probably doesn't know much. The protagonist said that he did not expect that they would encounter such a development when entering the game. He asked what the purpose of this something in the game was. Dark Lion said it doesn't matter and he will get this thing out. Remembering the bloodied Tika, he said that he would not forgive it for what it did to Tika. Lingxi asked if he wanted to go it alone. Dark Lion said that based on the current situation, they have too many things to investigate, and with their forces, splitting up would be the best choice. The main character said that the communication system recently stopped working, and the game is deliberately interfering with communications between players. He said that they don't seem to want them to form groups and easily gain strength, but the game wants to take them out one by one. He said that, in this case, they could not exchange information effectively after being separated. Dark Lines, agreeing, said that the communication system was indeed necessary for them to win against the game, so this problem should be solved by him, Lingxi. The main character asked in amazement why because he was also locked in the game. Dark Lines, surrounded by blue energy, said that he had already told him that the most important thing for him at the moment was to bring out the thing that harmed Tika. He added that it is true that this problem can only be solved by him. The main character looked at him in amazement. Dark Lions looked at him and asked if he remembered what they talked about when they first met in the real world. He said that they were talking about a game product on his side that could appear in reality. Lingxi thought in amazement about Dumpling.